Welcome. We look at HTML and how we define the server paths within the code in order to tell the browser to get to the appropriate web page or image so that it renders properly on the website. So in order to do that, first we want to take a look at the screenshot of the design view of the web page. So here we've got a couple of links. We've got a relative link and an absolute link, which are the two different types of links we're going to be talking about. Those are different server paths. So this is what it looks like from the audience perspective. There's nothing special about it. It doesn't look any different other than the actual text. But from the viewer's perspective, it all looks the same. Then we have link, the third underlined section is an absolute link, and I show the actual URL for that there. And then we've got two images. The first one is inserted with a relative link, and the second one is inserted with an absolute link. So that's all good and great, but what does that all mean as far as the HTML? When we go to the next image, we see the code behind what we just viewed for the web page. So what we have circled in purple is the relative link that just tells the browser wherever my current page resides, whatever folder it resides in, just go straight to this next page. So the current page, if we look up at the tab on the top of the window, we see that our page is named server-paths.html, and that page, which I'll show you in a second, resides in a folder named HTML. So when I tell the browser with the ahref tag my go-to page.htm, it's going to go in that same folder that server paths resides in and goes directly to that next page. If I look to the orange information that I've got circled, that's an absolute path. That's telling the browser to go directly to the C drive, go into the folder named users, go into a folder named Charlotte, go into another folder named documents, then another folder level named HTML, and then render the page named mygotopage.html. So that's an absolute path. The thing with absolute paths is, with this one, it's on the C drive because I'm on my own computer and I have that file saved on my computer in that exact path. So in users, Charlotte, documents, HTML, I have a file named my go-to page. It's going to render on my computer. If I move this page to the internet, the person that's viewing the page will probably have a C drive. They probably will have a folder named users. Most likely they're not going to have a folder named Charlotte. They're not going to have a folder named HTML within the documents folder, and they're not going to have the page named mygotopage.html saved on their computer. So that's just a thing to note. Down below I'm going to show two more examples of absolute and relative, where the absolute is going to be something that is a viable option for us because the page resides on the server and that's what the directions we're giving it. So in the blue circle, we find another relative path. So that says in the folder that I'm looking at currently, go into another folder named images to find the file named flowers-15kb.jpg. Because that file is there, it's going to render properly. So if I move this web page and my whole folder structure from the HTML folder and down to the host, it's going to find that images folder and the flowers.15kb.jpg in that same folder because I just moved the whole thing over to the internet. In the green circle, I've got an absolute link. This one again starts at the HTTP reference, goes into the domain name, copyright-free-photos.org.uk. On their host space at that domain name, they've got a folder named flowers, and in that folder they've got a file named cherry-blossom-10.jpg. And so that's where we see that the image renders properly because we're giving the proper directions to find those files. So we go to the last image here, and that shows the layout of my folder structure. So in my documents area, I've got a folder named HTML, and that's that top image. There's actually 3 screenshots in this picture. And then within the HTML folder, I've got a folder named images and my 2 web pages, the 2 HTML files. And then if I go into my images folder, I've got all my images there. So when it's time to move my website from my computer to the host, we're going to see that that folder structure remains intact, and so the relative links are the way to go when linking from somewhere within my website to another place, another location, another file within the same website. If I want to go to a completely different website, then I want to use that absolute path that we did in the last example on the prior page for the cherry blossom image. I hope that helps some understanding of the difference between relative and absolute paths and how that compares to what our actual folder structure is.